On Tuesday, October 9, 1781, the final battle of the Revolutionary War occurred. We now know it today as the Battle of Yorktown. You should know that the Americans were just getting off of a win from the Battle of Cowpens in January and the Battle of Eutaw Springs in September. However, between those two battles, the Patriots lost at Guilford Courthouse in March. On the bright side, they captured 689 British soldiers. The Americans fled due to lack of ammunition, which was a prominent problem throughout the whole war, honestly. Now back to how the war played out. It all started out when the French landed in Rhode Island in 1780 to help out the American troops. The French and American armies met north of New York City. The attack was going to occur in New York City, but the French commander, Marquis de Lafayette, and Lieutenant General de Rochambeau persuaded George Washington to go further south into Virginia. The town of their choosing, Yorktown. They chose to go there because the British army was smaller down south. About a month earlier, the French fleet had defeated the British fleet. Because of this victory, Lord Charles Cornwallis, the commander of the British, had no escape into the sea for his troops. Washington ordered de Lafayette to surround Cornwallis in Yorktown until the rest of the troops arrived. He followed George's orders, and by late September, Cornwallis was completely surrounded on land and sea. After long preparation, the Patriots set up their camp north and south of the James River and began shooting on Tuesday, October 9, 1781. The weather conditions were pretty mild, with 49 to 60 degree temperatures and 8 to 20 mile per hour wind gusts. As usual, the Continental Army was wearing their blue coats, while the Militia for America was in their regular ragtag type uniforms. The French were dressed in white while fighting on America's side. The British, on the other hand, were in their sophisticated red coats, and some were in bearskin hats, which are the totally awesome tall black hats that you see people in England wearing. Continuous bombardment from both sides went on for about a week. The British side's main goal was just to defend themselves as long as possible because of the lopsided amount of troops that the Americans had over the British. The Americans, however, were on the offensive side because they knew they had a huge advantage between catching the British off guard and the amount of troops that they had. After the British forces began to rapidly deteriorate and Cornwallis decided to surrender, the Americans won the battle and the Revolutionary War as a whole. After 2 days of negotiation, the war was officially over. Charles Cornwallis claimed to be ill on October 19th when the official surrender ceremony took place. This eventually led to the Treaty of Paris in 1783.
I don't even know it. So...
How are you gonna
Stop! You're gonna mess. You messed up the whole thing.
I had something in my throat.
Your head was.
Oh my gosh! The Americans eventually fled due to lack of ammunition.